Hey there, it's Mackenzie, your host of Winning. We're looking for sponsors for the podcast. If you have a business that you would like to promote to thousands of people, send us an email at podcastwinning@gmail.com or send us a message on social media. I cannot wait to hear from you. Now on to the show.
Winning is your guide to making it in business. Join our award-winning host and entrepreneur, Mackenzie Kilshaw, and special guests in casual conversations that will educate and inspire you on your business journey. Winning will help you learn the hard lessons the easy way with guidance from celebrated entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's fun. It's informative. It's winning.
Hello, everyone. It's Mackenzie Kilshaw, the host of Winning, and I'm super pumped today to have Shereen Magnus with us. Hello.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm really good. We are enjoying the winter weather, or we're not enjoying it. I don't know. Do you like winter?
No, I'm not.
No,
Our heat stopped working today in the spa.
Oh, boy. Yep. Problems of an entrepreneur, right? You got to figure that out.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I love it. So Shereen owns SKN Med Spa. They opened in November of 2020, which I feel like I don't have this on my list, but I feel like I need to talk to you about opening a business in 2020 because I feel like that's a whole other episode.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that. But she owns it with her husband, Mark. They created SKN out of a desire to provide the best service possible for their clients. And they wanted to use the best technology on the market. So Shereen will tell us a little bit what a med spa is in a second. But I have gone there myself for treatments, and I can tell you it's a safe, judgment-free space. No one's like looking at you like, oh, what are you getting done, right? It's a really relaxed atmosphere, which I love. And it helps you with your insecurities, which also I love. Their team is amazing. And they have the SKN Initiative program, which I'm also going to get you to talk a little bit more about. But it's a service that provides free microneedling to people with self-harm scars, which I think is so amazing that you guys are doing that. And this service, it went kind of viral, and they were featured on Global News and CBC Radio 1. They've also won this year. You guys won the community votes for beauty and health spas, and they've been a SABEX finalist for new business too. So that's just me kind of bragging Shereen up. But why don't you tell us about yourself and who you are, and maybe touch a little bit on opening that business in 2022.
You're like, what crazy pills did this person take to do that? Well, just to add to the crazy, I had a 1-year-old baby at the time too. So we'll just throw that in there.
Why not, right? Just
why not?
give yourself as many hurdles as possible.
Right. So I'm a medical esthetician. I started my journey off as just, basic esthetician over 10 years ago. And the reason why I went into this field was because of my own insecurities. I've struggled with acne since I was 11, still struggling with it. So it's something where I could really relate to a lot of my clients with their insecurities, and just that feeling of just wanting to help people. So, I've always approached this industry as it's not a vanity thing. Like, yeah, you can definitely turn it into that.
Yep.
But, when you fix something, or just make a slight improvement in someone that really bothers them, like, you're changing their life. Like,
sure.
Yeah, it's insane. So that's why I do this is, we're a new business. So it's obviously, and during COVID, it's not about the money at this point.
No, it's
but
keeping doors open, right?
Yeah, and
being alive.
Yeah, and it's the helping people. That's what I thrive off of. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And like I said at the beginning, I've come to you and I remember you're like, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know. What do you think I need done? And you're like, nothing. You don't need anything. But
yeah,
what makes you insecure? What makes you feel not the best, right? And I really appreciated that because you're right. It's in our own selves, right? That we feel bad about something.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you're helping people. And tell me a little bit more about the microneedling, your skin initiative. How did that start and what's that done?
Yeah. So again, coming back to having something that I struggled with. When I was a teen, I also struggled with self-harm, and it was something that went on for a couple years. So knowing, having been there myself as a teen in that struggle, knowing that there's a lot of people out there who struggle, and it doesn't matter what age, there's so many people out there who struggle with self-harm, especially during COVID. COVID was really rough.
Yeah.
So being a new business, it was something that I really wanted to do to give back to the community. In a way, like, when you first start, you don't have a ton of just like money to just like throw around,
Yeah. Oh,
so I'm like, this is a tangible way that I can help people with my own expertise, in a way that, I feel comfortable doing. So with the Skin Initiative, it's free microneedling for those who have self-harm scars. But then we've also partnered with Evolve Counseling and Wellness. So they're trained in like trauma therapy and like self-harm, that type of stuff. So I felt it was very important to have professionals that I could, refer some of my clients if they're still struggling.
Yeah.
Or who just need someone else to talk to, because I'm not trained in that. I'm not going to pretend that I'm, even having gone through that, I'm not going to pretend I have the answers. So, but yeah, it's been pretty crazy. Sure. It's been insane. We've had a wait list for a while now. And then on top of that, the company that makes our microneedling device, they sponsored us. So now they're providing all of our cartridges and everything for the treatment, so we can actually help more people. So,
oh my God, that's so amazing. I love that. And I did an episode, actually the last episode that we had was all about philanthropy. And I just love that you're taking the initiative and your time to help. And I think too, because you went through it, right?
Yeah.
And like you say, you start out because it's a good way to get people to know who you are, but now you do it you did it before, but it's the goodness of your heart, right?
Yeah.
You're taking the time. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And it's been like really emotional I've talked about my own journey a lot. Yeah. So it's nothing new to me to talk about it, but having some of my clients like not being able to look me in the eye just because they feel so much shame, which is really, it's really heartbreaking. But, seeing them a couple appointments later and, they're looking me in the eye, they have confidence, they're smiling, like having full conversations, like just seeing that switch is incredible. So, it's wild. I feel so honored to be able to do that because, it is a vulnerable thing for sure.
Yeah. It's a feel good moment to know that you're helping someone, right? Someone that and you're right. There's no need to have shame, but now you get them over that obstacle, right? So I love that. I love it. Yeah. Okay. So we touched a little bit about your business and your expertise, where you started. What did you always dream of doing when you were a kid? Did you dream of that, or how did this come to be?
Yeah. So, you know what? I never dreamt of owning a business. Even throughout my aesthetics training, I was just like, I don't want to deal with that. And I think a lot of it was because of just my own baggage and not being able to essentially stand up for myself,
Yep.
So having overcome a lot of, it's still a work in progress. I'm a people pleaser and it's hard to,
I get you.
Learn some of that stuff. But I always pictured myself, in the beauty industry in some capacity. But before I upgraded a lot of my education, it was mainly, you're just doing facials and pedicures and stuff, which were great, but that's not where my passion was. So getting into, these more medical aesthetic treatments where you see change, and you're changing the behavior of someone's skin, it can be, it's life-changing for people. So
for sure.
Yeah. That's kind of how I got into it.
Yeah. So how did you make that leap from I want to do more than just pedicures and facials, to I want to learn all these med spa treatments, to I want to have my own med spa. How did that happen?
Yeah, so it was like a slow progression. So over the years, I just slowly upgraded my education course by course. Some stuff you're like, yes, I'm going to do that. And then you take the training and then you're like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Did you enjoy it, or it wasn't your,
What's that?
like you didn't enjoy it, or it just didn't fit with you?
Yeah, either didn't enjoy it or didn't give the results you were hoping for. So then, yeah. So like, there's fads with everything. So I started that way, upgrading my education. And then it honestly came down to not being able to operate out of my heart, working for someone else. And yeah, I'm not going to like throw shade at anyone by any means, but it's just, when you get that gut feeling where you're just like, I don't feel comfortable doing something, or you feel like you could do better, but you're almost not allowed, or whatever. It came from not having that freedom to do things with almost like a clear conscience. So, or just not, wanting to provide like a better experience, a better service. This industry is notorious for like just pushing, either product, treatments, services on people. Especially one thing that really irks me is when you're giving unsolicited, opinions, I should say. So if someone comes to you with one thing, you're like, oh, look at that big scar on your face, we should fix that. Like that's not my jam. That's not what I'm about. So even if it could make you money in the short term, that's not how I operate. So yeah,
I
just
think
being
a lot
able
of
function from. Sorry, just keep cutting you off.
It's okay. No, I interrupted you, which is really one of my strong points. I'm really good at interrupting people, but I don't want to forget this, because I think that a lot of people start their businesses from the exact same situation that you were in. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, I'm doing this. I enjoy what I'm doing, but there's something about where I am I don't like, or there's something that I know that I could do better. Or, I mean, I don't want to come to you for a hydrofacial and then you're like, you need Botox, you need lip injections, you need all this stuff, because because you want a payment, right? Because that's what happens. It's so to increase the ticket price, right?
Right.
I'm okay with you telling me what I need, but not just so you make more money. So
right.
that I actually need it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that it will benefit you. And then sometimes some people, like someone points out, say, med spa professional points out, oh, hey, like your face is asymmetrical, or this is actually what you look like. And like, I understand within the context of like, if it's a concern you might have, or, I just want to look more rejuvenated. And it's like, well, can I give you my opinion on what we could do? Like, that's different. But if you're just someone who's just like, hey, did you know, like, you have no chin, or like some people don't even know. And then it becomes a huge insecurity. And then they're just like distraught after. And I'm like, I'm not going to pick apart someone's face. Like if something truly bothers you, yes, let's address it. But I'm not going to just tear someone down to make a buck.
Well, that's the thing. And I feel like too, a lot of the industry, I mean, we know, like I've never had fillers or Botox. I would probably like to try it, but I've never had it. But I feel like a lot of people that I know, they started off, with one thing, and it's like, it's never enough. Like now they're honestly, you see them and you're like, whoa, like, because they went from just getting a little bit of something to getting a lot of everything. And it's changing the way people look. Like their face looks different. They're a different person. And sometimes it's not always for the best. And it's a shame that happens because someone's telling them that you need to have this, right?
Right. Or someone comes in and there might be like a little bit of body dysmorphia, and finding a provider that will actually tell someone to stop is is critical, because a lot of these changes are made, for the most part, slowly over time. So you actually forget what you used to look like.
Yeah.
So having a provider who will tell you like, okay, you're hitting your max, like we shouldn't do anything else. Because now we're actually going to distort your face, and there's going to be some complications that come with that. So
yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I think that's why people come to a business like yours, because they want that. Like if I'm going to make that leap and come for Botox, I don't want to look like Barbie.
No.
I want to look like a better version of myself, right? Like just make me look a little less tired.
Yeah, and that's the goal, where it's like, okay, we're just trying to reverse the clock a little bit. Or, say if you, like for me, I've got some asymmetry in my cheeks because I literally sleep on one side of my face and it's starting to wear down.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, let's just like put a little bit here, a little bit there, but we're not changing, we're not trying to make everyone like a carbon copy of Kim Kardashian. That's not
Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay. I think I always ask if you had a major turning point in your career. I think maybe you kind of answered that when you said you just didn't feel comfortable, but tell me about that. And how did you make that leap? What was it that you were like, I'm doing this?
It was kind of like a weird situation, but it just got to the point where I just had enough, without like going into too many details, but it was shortly after I had a baby. My son, at the time when we were kind of planning this out, he was under a year. He was approaching that 1-year mark. And I was just like, first of all, it was kind of funny hindsight. I'm like, I need something that's like stable. And then you start a business.
Sorry. Let's just take a moment to laugh there.
Right. And then at the time too, I was also doing a lot of self-development. After having had my son, like I was focusing a lot on like my wellness, like physically and mentally, and starting to understand my value. Yeah. So that's honestly kind of where it came out of, where it's just like, I feel like I deserve better, my clients deserve better. And, it was a super risky time, but sometimes you just gotta do it,
Yep.
Yeah.
I talked the other day with, on another episode, and we were laughing. We're like, Nike can sponsor us, because we're like, just do it.
Right.
Like you just got to take that leap, and it's scary.
It
is.
Super-
I mean, you did it probably at the worst time, like
literally. Yeah.
2020. I mean, did you have to push back your opening, or what happened there? Like, how was that with COVID?
No. So it was actually towards, late summer, early-ish fall of 2020. So lockdown had already happened. So we already knew we were going to be operating in a pandemic.
Yeah.
So actually with that, there were some perks though, because, there were sadly, a lot of businesses that were going out. So there were a lot of vacancies, and that's kind of how we ended up right beside you.
I know. That's how I met Shereen. We were neighbors. And then it turns out that we knew all the same people and everything else. We're like, how did we even cross paths before? So
used to hang out with my brother.
I know. Back in the day, high school, It's crazy when you think of that, and then you end up having businesses side by side, right?
Right. Like, what are the odds?
Yeah.
So funny. Yay. It's a good location. Yeah.
It is. It's a great location.
So yeah, with the pandemic, like a lot of stuff crashed. So with that, we were actually able to negotiate better lease payments, like lease terms, that type of thing.
Which is a must, right? Like you have to negotiate that stuff.
Right.
You can't just sign a paper.
No. And the thing is, during the rough times, that's when it allows us little guys to get in. If everything's just like going up, like us little guys, like there's no room for us. We can't get in because it's so expensive.
That's a good point.
When things crash a little bit, that's when you can find your way a little bit. So
yeah. So you really took a a really bad time and made an opportunity out of it.
Yeah.
Right? Like you use that to your advantage.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people would have been just like, oh, I can't open now. I can't open a business now. Right?
Right. And the thing is, like with the pandemic, like no one knew. And like, you know, there's still repercussions of COVID, but we don't know how long this is going to go on for. So it's like, you're just going to delay and delay and delay and delay. And then soon enough, it's never going to happen. Yeah, so you just got to like take that massive step and you just figure it out as you go.
My worst year, COVID, when I had my physical business, COVID was worse than my first year. And I talked about that on my first episode, but it was because your first year, like you don't know any different. You know, you give yourself some projections of how much money you're going to make, what you're going to do. But like COVID, like I had been in business already for I think 6 years or so. And I knew how much money I was making, and all of a sudden everything stopped and you're like, oh my gosh, right? So you have to take that leap. You have to just take the leap. And if you're well prepared, you're going to be fine. Right.
And like, you have to pivot, like you have to come up with different ideas. Like, okay, how else could we do business? Even if it's like super different than what you're used to, but like, you just have to figure something out.
That's right. And I mean, let's just hope that COVID, like nothing like this happens again, but there's always going to be something, right? There's always going to be something that you need to change. Whether, I mean, for you, a lot of that too will be technology.
Yeah.
Right? Like something new comes out or something becomes obsolete and you have to learn a new skill. And that's part of it. Offer something new to clients, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But it might not be COVID, but there's going to be something else that you have to.
There's going to be something. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Okay. Talking about partnerships. So you're partners with your husband.
Yes, I am.
Like good on you because I love my husband to death and I don't think I could be a business partner with him. Talk about that a little bit. Like, how is it? I mean, I know you love your husband and he's a great guy, but like, how is it? Truthfully,
how is it? Okay, so I'll just kind of discuss a little bit of our rules, and that might make a little bit more sense. So, Mark, my husband, he's actually a civil engineer by day. So he actually has like, you know, his full-time job as a civil engineer. So he's very gifted with numbers. I, on the other hand, am not.
My worst. Financials are my worst, so I get it.
The worst. I also have ADHD, so I have a really hard time understanding numbers. Like it's like a foreign language to me, and he's always helping me try to understand everything, but financial literacy was not taught to me at all until I actually got married. So he's been a huge help in that department. So he does literally everything with our numbers, bookkeeping, payroll, everything. And I tackle like all of the spa.
Yeah.
So our roles are very different.
I love that though, because you took a place that you had a weakness and you make it a strength, right? Farm out the stuff that you're not good at or you don't like doing. Because you're better off. And I mean, for you, luckily, it's your husband. You don't have to, I mean, you're paying him, but different than hiring someone. But why would you try to struggle with that? Like, you're really good on social media, spend your time there. You're really good at spa, spend your time there, right? Yeah.
And those are the things that are going to bring you the income. So if I'm going to waste all my time on stuff that I'm not good at, it's going to take away from the stuff that I am good at. And that's what makes us money. So
exactly.
It's not worth it.
I love that you have rules though.
Yeah.
I feel like lots of people in partnerships probably don't start out like that. And then things go really wrong. Right. So
and we've always had, like things get spicy all the time. Like, it's not to say that everything's perfect and hunky dory. Like things, like, we will have our disagreements for sure, but at the end of the day, like we've had this conversation several times where we're like, we put our marriage above our business. So if something like, if it's not working, like, and we would have to do a lot of digging, but like, if it's not working, then we will figure something out where, maybe some roles will change or whatever. But, our marriage is more important. Our family is more important than our business. We put a lot of energy and a lot of time and a lot of money into our business, but like our family is more important. So.
I think that's great advice too, because you could have a partner too that's not your husband, right? Like, because that way, then if you set those rules and you set those boundaries, and like you say, you might have to change things, but at least you're in charge of this, I'm in charge of this, and you do it, right?
Yeah.
I think it would make things a lot more efficient and keep the good, right?
Yeah.
Like keep things in the good zone.
Yeah, and the communication is absolutely key. And it's like what you're not saying is almost more important than what you are saying, because we're all seeing everything from our own lenses, like our own baggage. And a lot of the times the problem isn't the problem, it's how we're perceiving it to be, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Or you assume.
So,
you might assume.
Yeah, so
right?
I always have to remind myself where I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually what he's trying to say. This is just my own garbage that's clouding it, where I'm interpreting it as this. So,
especially if it's something like we said, financials, you know, maybe he's like, okay, we need to, you went over the budget. I don't know what it is, but you know, and then it's like, you take offense to that, but really he's just trying to keep you on track for your financials. Right.
Yeah.
It's not you. It's like, okay, you gotta tighten up or change this or do whatever.
Yeah.
A huge thank you to our sponsor, Just For You Day Spa and Wellness. Just For You is Canada's premier day spa with 5 locations in Alberta and Saskatchewan. The award-winning luxury spa features Leah Reese cosmetics and iconic Betty jewelry that you can also purchase online. Visit www.justforyoudayspa.com to book your service or to purchase a gift card.
And just seeing money and finances as like a neutral thing. Like, stop putting so much your emotional baggage onto money, because money is just a resource.
That's right.
But yeah, not being so emotional about money that's been like a huge like turning point, because again, I was never raised with financial literacy. Like, I grew up like super small town, like farm girl in the middle of nowhere who used to butcher chickens and chop wood to keep her house warm. Like, we weren't raised with, you know, having talks about investing and whatnot. So,
you know, I talk to so many people, and like I've mentored people, and this is where the podcast came from, right? Like, let's just help the masses of people do better. Finances are literally the number one thing that people are like, I hate. They hate it, or they're unsure about it. It makes them uneasy. They're worried about it. Like, that's what keeps people up at night is money. Yeah. And you're right. It's just a thing. I mean, you need it to keep your business alive. But when you put those emotional values onto it, then it's a much different experience than it's just, it is what it is. And let's figure it out. Right. So I love that you touch on that. So a lot of entrepreneurs, and I suffered from this myself. The first 2 years of my business, I literally worked every day. Like, I did not take a day off. I did not, that's a lie, Christmas Day and I think New Year's Day, but the holidays. But like, I was at my store or working every single day. I did no self-care. I tried to work out, but I just did what I could do. And I ended up in the hospital because I had exhaustion, and I didn't even think that was a real thing. I thought that was a thing that like celebrities said that they had because they didn't want to do something. Yeah. And then I realized self-care is so important. So I want to talk about that with you, because you really, like, your business is self-care, right? And so let's talk about why, first of all, why do you feel that it's important as an entrepreneur to take care of yourself?
Oh my God.
Let's start there, because it's one of those things people put themselves on the back burner, right? Yeah. When you're an entrepreneur, you come last. Yeah. So why is it important to take care of yourself and not be last?
Oh my gosh. So this is something that I am struggling with right now, where I'm like, I know all these things, like, I know I need to take care of myself, but being a mom and then running this business, it's similar to you. I've taken like very little time off. I feel like if I didn't have my son, I probably wouldn't have taken any time off.
Yeah. That's sad, isn't it?
It is really sad. It's really sad. And then like my little guy notices too, but like when you're not taking care of yourself, like first of all, you're good to no one. You're not good to yourself.
That's right.
Like the negativity that just like festers is detrimental. So you're no good to yourself. I'm not a good wife. I'm not a good business partner. I'm not a good mother. Yeah, I'm not good like running my business. Nothing's done efficiently anymore. Like you're just in panic and like survival mode. And how can you like thrive when you're in survival mode? You can't.
Nope. There's no growth, right?
Yeah. Even for myself, like, yes, this space, having a med spa, yes, the self-care, it like how you feel about yourself is incredibly important. But even what I'm learning in terms of self-care, it's doing those little things every day that my future self is going to thank me for. So it's the little things I don't want to do today. So it's the things like I don't want to work out, or I don't want to like put those dishes away, or just like the little things where it's like it's easy to let them slip, but then at a certain point it's just like, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming. My health is crap. My house is destroyed. Like, I'm not eating well. You're not sleeping well. So I don't know. It just comes down to like, if you're not taking care of yourself and doing those little things, that is going to help future you. And it does help you in the short term, but especially I'm like, future me is going to thank me for doing this right now. I'm going to feel so much better. And then I'm going to be more patient. I'm going to be a more attentive mom. I'm going to be more efficient in my business. I can think more clearly. Like it's just, it all goes hand in hand. So
I love
that's
that.
just where I'm at.
Yeah, you know what though? Like we're all going through it, right? And I used to equate it as like I'm running on a treadmill forever. Like I can never get off. Like I just felt like I was always go, 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 gotta do this, gotta do that. And I learned two things, and I think you're probably on the same path as me. I learned how to say no, which I never said. I was a people pleaser. I was like, I can do it. I'm like, I'm doing things that I don't even want to do to make somebody else feel good. And I also learned boundaries.
Yes.
And I learned to say, like, I can't do that. And that's okay. It wasn't a fail, right? It wasn't a failure to say no or to say, I'm just not doing that. Or I'll help you, or I will do this thing, but this is the rules, or this is the stipulations, right?
Absolutely. Or it's like, even for me, I get really caught up in the little things, like I'm always cleaning. And it's because like I can do it, so I'll do it. But then I'm like, if I'm focusing so much on cleaning all the time, I'm not like, that's like my low energy. Like I'm not bringing in money, and then my business suffer, my staff suffer. Like if I'm focusing on those little things, and I'm terrible for delegating. Like I'm so terrible because I'm just like, I can do it. It's fine, but I can't.
No,
like
you need to
then
delegate.
the big stuff, I miss the big stuff and it's bad. So delegating.
You have a list. You have a list and you do all the little things that really are so insignificant it doesn't matter. And you leave the big thing that's actually going to bring you something, money or whatever it is. And you leave it. Like, why do
you know what? I literally have a whiteboard right behind my computer and it has all these little things. And then these big items that I need to do, but I'm like, I've checked off all the little things that are insignificant, but the big things are still there. And I'm like, oh.
Well, and you're right. Delegate those little things out, right? Yeah. Delegate them out. Or like I said before, pay somebody to do those things. Or like get a staff member to do it. Like do something that allows you to do the big important stuff, right?
Yeah. And then at the same time, it's like I'm cheating them out because if I'm not busy and bringing the clientele for them, they're not going to make as much.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
even in the short term, like just delegating those little things, like we have amazing staff. Like, why wouldn't I? Like they're awesome and they're such hard workers. So it's just my own garbage.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think too, routine has really helped me.
Yeah.
So I learned to say no. I think about 3 years ago when I had one store in one city, one store in another city, and a fiance in another city. And I
Yeah.
physically was like, I can't be three places at once. So I started saying no, started setting boundaries. I also really put routine in. So like
Yes.
now my routine every morning, whether I drop my stepson off at school or like if it's a week he's not with us, I'm at home, I work out.
Yes.
And I do that. And like if I can only do a half an hour, I can only do a half an hour. If I can do 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, but I do it because that makes me feel good. It's good for my body. It clears my brain. It's that amount of time that I'm not thinking about working, right? And it's so important to me physically, mentally, like my health, everything. And so setting that routine and whatever the routine is for you, right? It's different than me or Shereen or whoever else, but setting that routine is going to help you with that self-care. Saying
absolutely,
I'm closing my computer at 8 p.m. or whatever it is, no work past this time.
Yeah.
It's hard, right?
It's really hard because you're always trying to get ahead, but you will never get ahead.
That's right.
You never get ahead. The work will always be there. And that's something that I used to do, where I would work out before my son would wake up. And that kind of went to crap when he started waking up like disgustingly early at like 5 a.m. And we're like, oh dear God, like how do we even function at this point?
Yeah. Kids put a whole new spin on things.
But it was so good for me. And I'm like, I need to do that again.
But
like,
maybe your working out though is different. Like maybe, and I mean, I know your son's older now, but maybe that is if you have a business and you have a baby, maybe you do mom and baby yoga or something where you have, it's the time with them, but it's also the time for you, right?
Absolutely.
There's ways that you can do it. And we're going to go through those peaks and valleys. Right now you're in a valley because it's hard. Because you have hard. Like a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
But pretty soon he's going to go to school.
Yeah.
And then you can, you just change that routine now and then it changes again. It's pivoting, just like we talked about before, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, if you don't feel good, like physically and mentally, or don't feel good about yourself, you're going to be in a detriment. Your business will suffer.
Absolutely. And your home life directly impacts your business.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's super crazy, the correlation between the two. And honestly, how good I felt before. But then for me as well, it's like knowing I'm leaving something on the table. That's what eats away at me, where it's like, this is something that I know I need to do and I didn't do it. And I have the potential to be better, and just leaving that little bit of potential on the table that eats away at me.
Yeah.
And I hate it so much. So yeah.
And why do you think you do that? Like for me, it was always fear.
Yeah.
Like, well, it might not work out. It's going to take too much time. I'm quote unquote too busy to do it, which is crap, because if you want to do something, you're going to do it. But why do you think it stopped? Like, what's your stopping you from doing those things?
Oh gosh. A lot of it for me comes down to, I think, so just physically it's the fatigue, but that goes back to because I'm not taking care of myself, I have that fatigue. So then in the morning, if it's like, super early and my son's up early or whatever, then I'm like, I'm too tired. But it's like, this would help my energy later. So it's just like giving myself a kick in the pants to be like, okay, this is going to help me later on. Just do it now. But then sometimes too, like we all kind of struggle a little bit with the feeling of, I think a lot of things come back to like, you feel like you're not worth it,
Yep. Oh, for sure.
So just putting in that energy and that time, it's hard to see the correlation, but it does yeah, the feeling of, you're not worth it. This won't work out anyways, or I'm not gonna feel any different, or, just that negative self-talk is hard sometimes. So yeah.
I think even the most positive of people, you have that little voice, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter. You can have the best self-image and confidence and everything else. You still have that little voice.
Yeah.
Even at my highest points, I still had that like no one's gonna come. This is
Yeah.
gonna be a failure. I'm gonna spend all this time and money. And it's gonna be worthless.
Yeah.
And then it's like the devil and the angel. Because then you're like, well, why? Why is no one gonna come? If you invite people, they're gonna come. Right?
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. I mean, whatever
Right?
you're working on, right? If I do this, like, you're so great on social media. I love following you. But like I'm not on I'm on TikTok. Let's be serious. I have a TikTok. I probably do TikToks ever. But part of it is because I'm like, no one's gonna watch this stuff anyway. So why am I gonna spend the time? Hello, people have bazillion followers on TikTok. People are watching it. Like,
people are always watching. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
honestly,
take that leap.
Yeah. Honestly, a lot of even like my social media stuff, making the reels and whatnot, it just came out of like because I wanted to. Like I didn't care. Like I honestly don't care. Like I'm weird. I will say silly things. Like I just don't care. And if it makes one person laugh, then sweet. But I had fun making it, and that's all that counts.
Yeah, exactly. We put too much weight on what other people are going to think.
Yeah.
And really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
It's you that goes to bed at night in your own body, right? Like what somebody down the street thinks, whatever. Like it's not going to change you. And you might attract, for your business, you might attract 100 new people because they're like, this girl's real. She's just showing her real self. She's funny. She's quirky. You think weird. I don't think it's weird. But, and, if there's one person that's like, oh, I don't like that. Well, then fine.
Who cares? I don't want you in my business anyways. Like,
exactly.
And that
it fits. So it's fine.
Yeah. It plays into like who we are as a business and the type of clientele we attract. Like we have amazing clients. They're all super incredible.
Yeah, I love it.
So yeah, it does play into that. The energy you put out is kind of what you attract. So yeah, if you're going to be snippy and mean, then, then don't be surprised when that comes showing up at your business. But
isn't that true?
That's just my opinion.
I agree though, right? You get what you give. Always.
Yep.
You get what you give. It comes back full circle.
Absolutely.
Okay, a couple of rapid fire questions here. So this is hard, I think, but most important lesson you can share by being an entrepreneur or business owner. What's one thing that you would tell someone that that's important to you, or something that you've learned along the way that they should take with them?
The first thing that pops into my mind is if you don't believe in yourself, in your business or your product, no one else is going to believe in you. So you have to be like your first and foremost cheerleader, because no one's doing this for you. It's you. And if you doubt what you have created, if you doubt, I don't know, and everyone has little bits of doubt, whatever. But if you truly believe that, like, oh, my prices are too high, then people are going to think your prices are too high. Mm-hmm. So you have to believe in your value and your worth and what you provide to the table. And if you don't, then other people aren't going to believe that. So that's
love that.
It's something that I've struggled with because, again, the financial illiteracy and growing up very, what's the term I want to use? Like, again, we butcher chickens for meat and chopped wood to keep our house warm. Like, yeah, very meek. Growing up and just not having a ton of extra resources. Like, you value every penny, but when you pinch pennies, you lose dollars. And that's kind of a hard mindset as an entrepreneur when you're just trying to like hoard everything and save everything. And then it's like, then you're letting big dollars go. So, yeah, just understanding your value and your worth is a huge one for me personally.
I love that. And I think too, that goes back to people making that leap, right? Like
Mhm.
if you're at a point where you have an idea or you have a product or a business or whatever it is, and you're like, I really know that this could be great for a lot of people. It's
Mhm.
it's like taking that jump, right?
Yeah.
Just doing it. If you might have to start small.
Yep.
I was talking to a friend last night on the phone. She's got a business plan and she's not, I'm like, well, why aren't you doing anything? She's like, I don't know. I don't have the time. I'm too, to like, and I said, just start out small. Just
Yeah.
start with one little thing and then go from there. Right. And then once
Yeah.
that thing works out, you inside, you're like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's great. And is there something you wish you had known before you started? I mean, it's hindsight's 2020, but
Yeah.
what's the thing that you're like, dang it, I wish I would have known that 3 years ago?
Yeah. I think a lot of it again comes down to like me knowing my worth and that I can do stuff by myself. Because a lot of times like you start a business, and like you're like you just don't have the confidence. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, and this isn't in regards to my husband or anything, but like when we originally started, we had 4 business partners, and a lot of it for me was like I felt like I couldn't. Like, oh, I'm not smart enough. Like I won't be able to figure this out by myself. I felt like I needed other people.
Yeah.
But hindsight, I didn't, because I've learned all these lessons by myself. Like I'm the one learning the lessons, you know? And like I'm running the spa by myself pretty like, and my husband does all the numbers and whatnot. And like I have his support, but the day-to-day functions, like it's me. Like I'm the one doing everything. So I'm like, had I known that, I almost had like this untapped power that I didn't realize I had, you know, just that self-confidence. And a lot of it, some of it came from having a baby, was gave me a bit of that courage to take that first step. I don't know what it was about having a kid, but I was like, hey, who let me have this kid? like I'm like, what? In my mind, I'm still like 13, but you know,
they let me take this thing home. Like what? The
right?
hell?
Like this is crazy. And then it's like, okay, like I can take care of a kid. Like what else can I do?
Yeah.
You know?
And you know what? If you would have never taken that leap and started the business, you probably still wouldn't know that. Right?
Okay, sorry, I just lost you there for a second.
That's okay. If you wouldn't have taken that step and taken that leap, you probably still wouldn't know all
No.
these amazing things that you could do.
No, I would have
Right?
had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
Look how
And
you've
it's
grown.
yeah, and it's like, you know, even if things crap hit the fan tomorrow and like say financially everything was gone, like I still have these lessons. Like I could still do this again tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know,
And
because
that's
I
why
know.
we're sharing this with other people because we're all in the same place. We've all had those moments of like, I can't do it. I don't know what I'm doing, that turn into, oh, I can do it. And I'm doing really well. Right.
Yeah.
And like, let's just share that word because it's important when you're starting. You feel really alone. You feel like no one else. Oh, I'm sure every other friend of mine that has a business, they never felt this way. They did. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Different ways and different times. But I mean, we're all in that same place. So thank you for sharing with us. It's so great to have you on. Where can people find you? You have great social media. You got to follow Shereen, but where can people find your business and you?
Yeah, so our business, we're on Instagram and Facebook. If you look up on Instagram, it's skn.yxe is our Instagram. You can also find me on Insta. I'm that awkward esthetician.
I love it.
I'm like, we're just gonna put this out there and people will know I'm awkward, so they won't be surprised. And then for our business, our website, you can find us at www.sknmedspa.ca.
Awesome. And I don't even live in the same city as Shereen, and I order all of my skincare through the website. So take a look. They've got some great stuff. If you're in Saskatoon, go and get a hydrofacial because I tell you, you will love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on and taking the time.
Thank you.
And I know our listeners are going to love it. And thank you for listening to today's episode. And we will be back again next week. Thanks for listening to Winning. Be sure to subscribe to get all of our new episodes. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others. Post about it on social media and leave a rating and review wherever you listen to Winning. To catch all of the latest from us, you can follow Winning Podcast on Instagram at winning_podcast, Facebook at Winning Podcast, and on Twitter at Winning Pod. Winning was created and is produced by me, Mackenzie Kilshaw. Music created by Summer Furby. Editing by Seth Armstrong. Special thanks to Shauna Foster for voicing our opening. And of course, a huge thank you to this episode's guest. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.